Joining me now to talk more about these developments is Jamil Jaffer. He's a former counsel to the Assistant Attorney General for National Security and a former associate counsel to President George W. Bush. Jamil, thank you so much for joining us to talk about a lot of legal developments. Let's start with the Comey indictment. From your perspective now, do you think that this will ever get to trial?
Well, Danny, it's hard to know, right? The question is, what evidence does the government have against former FBI Director Comey? What evidence do they have that he actually lied about whether he authorized somebody to leak? It would be surprising if they've got a significant amount of evidence that we haven't seen yet. So it'll be interesting to see what they put forward. We've only seen the indictment. We haven't seen the underlying criminal information that led to it, that they presented to the grand jury, that Lindsay Halligan presented. So we'll see what they've got. And then, of course, as Caitlin pointed out, James Comey's attorneys will have a chance to push back on that. So we'll see how this plays out. And at the end of the day, more often than not, these attempts at trials end up in resolution. They end up in plea agreements. Jim Comey, though, not looking like he's going to plead. So if they have evidence, this is probably going to go to trial.
No, I mean, Jim Comey, the one thing we got from his statement was bring on the trial, right? That was the main thing he said crystal clear. I want to push on for a minute because there have been a lot of legal developments over the past 72 hours. CNN reporting senior DOJ officials are pushing now for charges for John Bolton, President Trump's former advisor turned critic after that dramatic FBI raid of his home. Jamil, if it turns out Bolton did have documents labeled secret or classified, as some of us understand, to potentially be the case, what are the potential implications of that?
Well, look, as we know, President Biden and his Justice Department brought charges against President Trump for improperly possessing classified documents at his house. This is a similar claim that's going to be made against John Bolton. If, in fact, he did have classified documents at his house, you can't simply remove top secret or top secret SCI, sensitive compartment information, and possess it at home unless you've been authorized to do so, unless the information has been declassified. There's no evidence to suggest that he was authorized to do so, but we also don't know what the government has and what they found, the level of documents, and whether, in fact, they were classified at the time they were at his house. So this will all, again, come out. But the bottom line is, whether you're the President of the United States or his national security advisor or the former president or vice president in the case of Joe Biden, you simply can't take classified documents and keep them at your house.
Okay, moving right along on this litany of new potential cases that may or may not come, I want to ask about new reporting from the New York Times now. According to the Times, the DOJ is also now looking at DA Fani Willis from Georgia. She, of course, was the one who charged President Trump in that sweeping election interference case. Listen, at this point, according to the Times, it's unclear exactly the scope of that investigation. But, I mean, listen, President Trump said there's no list of enemies he's going after. But is there any other way to read this as another person that certainly the president has been very mad at for a while now?
Right, Danny, look, we don't know what the subpoena that was directed at Fani Willis was for. We don't know whether she's a target of the subpoena or a target of the investigation or simply a fact witness. But what we do know, just in this repeated run of things, we've seen the president go after Jim Comey now, potentially John Bolton. He's mentioned other members of his administration, Chris Krebs, in national security executive orders, right now, Fani Willis. So the president, when he got elected, when he was running for office, said, I'm going to end the weaponization of the Justice Department. He's got an entire task force at DOJ to end weaponization. But you've got to ask yourself, why is the president going after all of his enemies as well? It does look like weaponization. So the question is, how does the president explain away what's happening here, what he's done thus far? And what Attorney General Pam Bondi has said is, just because you're a senior official doesn't mean you can get away with violating the law. That is certainly true. But then when the list is all opponents of President Trump, you've got to ask yourself, what is this about? Is this about upholding the rule of law, or is it about going after your political enemies? He didn't like it when Joe Biden and that Justice Department, he says, did it to him. He shouldn't be doing it to his enemies either.
Jamil Jaffer, thank you so much for breaking down a lot of headlines about the DOJ. I'm sure we'll be talking to you more about many more cases perhaps to come. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Danny.